Oh, I usually take us off stream. Oh, well, they can see behind the scenes. Hello. I can get my mouse to work. Oh, for Christ's sake.
Welcome to the show with your friend and mine. So tell me, Doctor Squee, who's it gonna be this time? We like to hear you talk, and we love to hear you listen. And if you are not subscribed, you won't know what you're missing. So welcome to the Doctor Squee Show. Welcome to the Doctor Squee Show. Welcome to the Doctor Squee Show. Headphones up. Here we go.
Hello and welcome to the Doctor Squee Show, but not as you know it. We're doing something a bit different tonight. So, or I should say this morning. First of all, I'm up on a Sunday morning. That's new for me. But what we're doing today is it's going to be a Gallifrey Stands takeover of the Doctor Squee Show. So for anyone who doesn't know, I did for over 300 episodes a Doctor Who podcast called Gallifrey Stands. We're reviving it tonight in honor of David Tennant coming back to the role as Doctor Who and the relaunch of Doctor Who. We're going to talk all about that. I'm Dr. Squee. With me in spirit, as always, is Dottie who you might just see just above me there. But joining us new, and she's probably just sleeping in a bed, so we won't be able to get her on camera, but is Willoo-ee-oow. Yeah, see what I did there? And also to speak about such a landmark episode, I wanted a couple of my buddies. So in the next couple of weeks, we're going to, as I say, be covering one every week of the 3 specials of Doctor Who, which are happening for the 60th anniversary of the show. For the last one, I've got my friend Paul G, who was on the original show as my news hound. And next week, we'll get something sorted as well. And we'll release all times and details close to the time. But for now, please welcome my guest this week. They're from the ReTrek podcast. God knows how I got those. Please welcome to the Doctor Squee Show, Captain Jim.
Hello.
And Admiral Elliot.
Hi there.
In your time, Elliot. I think we were.
Yeah, I'm in the wrong,
as well as me dying of
place for
consumption.
normal.
As well as me dying with consumption, we may also have a slight delay with Elliot there, I think. But anyway, we're never going to mind that now. Hope you gents are good. Hope you enjoyed the episode. We're going to dive straight into it. It is a bit weird because like this is very inside baseball, but I'm so used to Jim being down here at the bottom of the screen. But I thought, like, a show hosted by me, I should sort of be someone in the middle.
You should.
Yeah. But it's throwing me. I'm not going to lie. And I will apologize. I am just getting over the lurgy. So if I have a coughing fit, it might be over to you gents very suddenly in the middle of a conversation. But yeah, David Tennant is back. What an exciting, rip-roaring kind of ride straight from the beginning. Before we get into it, though, let's quickly cover the Children Need Special, which I haven't had a chance to speak about.
Oh, yeah.
So this little mini mission to Davros, mission to Skaro, and saw the newly regenerated 14th Doctor surprised to be a man again. And he's there, and he accidentally causes the genesis of the Daleks and their creation and a bit of plunger action. Yeah, not too much to get into, but I thought it was a fun little skit. We had, is it Mohan Rizwan? I don't want to get his name wrong, but a hilarious comedian. Really good to see him in there. Nice little comedy turn. Julian Bleacher again as Davros.
Yeah,
we'll get into the oh yeah, I think so. Yeah, we'll get into in a bit about the Davros controversy. We'll save that one. But what did you think of the little mini skit getting us into the 60th mood?
I think I messaged, I can't remember whether it was on a chat group or whether I messaged you privately or whatever, but I think I felt more excited and more entertained by that. And this isn't a dig at the Chris Chibnall, Jodie Whittaker years, but that felt more like Doctor Who to me than anything since Peter Capaldi. And it's a nice feeling to be excited by Doctor Who again. And I don't want to relitigate the whole issues that people might have had with that era, but I think we can all agree that it didn't live up to its potential and that interest in Doctor Who was possibly a bit of a low. Though personally, I felt like that Jodie Whittaker's last episode was a real high point, but
I could point out all the players, but that's another thing.
Yeah, but no, I thought it was great. I thought it was really good fun. Tennant had that Tennant energy that he does, which was great to see again. And yeah, as you say, we'll talk about the potential controversy, which I'm interested in you educating me on, because my Doctor Who knowledge is not what it could be, and I think because of that, it kind of went over my head. But yeah, it was just great fun. It's what you want from a Children in Need special, just a few minutes, in and out, bit of fun, gives you a flavour of what we might be getting, and I think it did its job.
Yeah, very reminiscent in that way of the Born Again special they had for Children in Need before Tennant first took to the TARDIS. He had a little 10-minute skit. If you've never seen it, please do check it out. I think it gives a lot of texture to his regeneration, and like without slowing down the pace of the episode, it gives you a little bit of a taste of Tennant warming into the role for that one. But yeah, I thought this was good fun. Elliot, what were your thoughts?
I like the Children in Need special. I have no problem with Davros not being in his wheelchair.
We'll get to that one. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
In fact, if you want to kick it off, go on.
Yeah, because all you do, it's just pre-accident.
Well,
so
the thing is,
as long as I think it'll be an issue if you have him not in the wheelchair if he comes back and he's in a later iteration of him, when the Daleks are fully formed. I think that'll cause an issue. But at the moment, there's no issue there, because you just make it pre-accident.
Well, just to give a bit of texture, just for anyone who hasn't seen the Children in special, we had Davros back, and he was not in his wheelchair. Now, for me, I didn't have a real problem. Like Elliot says, this could be before his accident. It's kind of, as far as I remember, and people I'm sure will correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I remember, it's always been sort of vague when he had the accident. Just when we see him in Gents of the Daleks, he's in the wheelchair. The only thing is, RTD has said that going forward, this is going to be the Davros we're going to get. I don't know if that means adventures set before the Doctor usually would have met him. I get the feeling it's probably going to be after as well. If they do, I would like, as some people have said, a bit of in-universe explanation, just for why. That's all they've got to do. Just a change in the timelines or anything, that'd be fine. I think the idea that he's trying to be respectful to people in wheelchairs is valid. And I've seen some people, I don't want to ever go at anyone. I'm sure they're genuinely representing people who they know. But there's some, like more than one person who I've seen who said, well, I'm a carer for wheelchair users, so I think I know what they think. Or like they've all said to me, it's like, well, if you're instigating the conversation as opposed to them speaking for themselves, that's me. Like, I'm not saying that you're not truly representing what they've said to you, but it's like, isn't it even better if we've got wheelchair users speaking about it, and then, their voices, I think, should be the first heard. I think there is, there is a proven history of disability and like scars on the face and people in wheelchairs and it being used as a creepy element in a bad guy. And I think maybe given that history, maybe having a brief pause where we don't have that, and then we can introduce it once we've kind of made it really clear wheelchair users can be anything. Like this, episode which we've just watched, it had a wheelchair user who had like, Ruth Madeley, I believe it is, where she had like weapons in her wheelchair. That was fantastic. It was brilliant. Yeah. And she's also done some audio Doctor where she's a wheelchair user called Hebe, I believe it is. So, I think we have to build up the positive representations, and then we can have any representation. But when you've seen more of the negative, I can see why you'd want to redress bounce. Jim, your thoughts on the
yeah, I mean, I'm glad you've shed some light on that, because as I say, my Doctor Who history, I've watched them and I've watched most of the important episodes, but I couldn't tell you Davros's personal timeline. But I'd always assumed from what I'd watched that he was born fully able-bodied and something happened that put him in the wheelchair. And so when I watched this, to my brain, it just went, oh, well, it must be before that. I didn't realise that there would be any controversy whatsoever relating to it. And, you're speaking of people speaking on behalf of people. We have a mutual friend, Honey, who is a wheelchair user, and she had an incredibly positive response to this and was really, really happy to see it. So, that, to me, I'm not saying she speaks for everyone, but knowing someone who is a wheelchair user responds so positively, I think it can only be a good thing that it's had that effect. And it's one of those where me, as an able-bodied person watching it, I don't have an immediate response to it. As I say, I didn't go, "Oh, that seems to be contradicting continuity," or anything like that. And if that has no impact on me in that sense, but to someone who is a wheelchair user, it has a positive impact, then what are we complaining about? Get over it. If a little thing can make people happy, just let them have it.
As Squee says, as long as if they go forward and this is how he's going to be able-bodied, as long as they have an in-universe explanation why they've changed it, I have no problem with them doing it. If they're just supplanting into stories like that and don't show why, then it's going to be an issue that you've completely changed the nature of a well-established character.
Yeah, and then you risk sort of almost tokenism, don't you? Like, you know, we're doing this just to make the point kind of thing. And but see, this leads me on to, if you've watched the Tales of the TARDIS, I feel like we're heading to the Doctor Who multiverse now. I feel like they're adopting the Marvel model of it. And I feel like the doors are open now to have all sorts of different interpretations of characters, which I think is in line with how our thinking about time travel and multiverse and things have evolved since Doctor Who started in the 60s. So it seems a logical next step. And also, you know, let's be honest, Doctor Who has a lot of contradictory things. Like, don't they explain why Atlantis sank 3 different times? And just saying,
it has contradicted itself a lot over the years.
So opening up the idea of there's a multiverse is a nice, easy fix to all of that. And if in one version Davros is able-bodied, fine.
I think you don't even have to go that far. You can just say it's like, well, whatever the 14th Doctor did when he went back to Skaro, it changed things so he didn't end up in a wheelchair. Just do that.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah. That's you done then. And it's like, I think there's a way where we can have our cake and eat it too. All fans really want that. I've seen for the most part. I know there's some people just never be happy with anything changing ever, but most fans have just said it's like, you know, give me an in-character reason for why it's happened, or an in-universe reason. And after that, I'm fighting. Like, then you can make that change. Then you can please like people who kind of like didn't like that kind of portrayal of wheelchair users. And I mean, yeah, I'll just cap this off with, I do also understand that wheelchair users are all different. They're all going to have different feelings on this. Some are going to be in favor of it, like Honey was. Others aren't. That's valid too. We have to listen to all of that and then sort of, I think, move forward a little bit. But I don't think it's a big problem. And, you know, what I am very excited about, like, I know some people had some consternation about this. I'm really excited that they've kind of delineate this as a third age of Doctor Who. We have the new Who, we have the classic Who, and now we got whatever we're going to call this kind of particular time in Doctor Who. And it is a new epoch when you've got, like, you know, the huge influx of money from Disney. That has made a huge difference. And like, I'm sure some people have some negative things on it. For me, it seems very positive. The scale of this adventure that we've just seen was amazing. Like, it really felt even more so like the look of the Jodie era. One I can definitely give them a compliment for the Chibnall era is how they made Doctor Who look. And now I think we've got the big exciting storylines to go with that look. Let's just start very quickly with the credits. I thought I do love the new arrangement. I think it's very exciting, very kind of like it's whipped up into a frenzy. It feels like you've got during the credits, it's the most movement I think we've ever seen of the TARDIS during the credits. It looks like a badass spaceship going through like all time and space. I think it was the 96 TV movie was the first one to have the TARDIS rotating, and this has just taken that to a new level. Elliot?
I was about to say, talking about the credits, Phil Siegel, who was the producer of the 1996 Doctor Who, has been in talks. He's got the model that they used for the credits of that one. It's in his personal collection, and he's in talks to lend it to the UK so that we can all go see it.
Oh, awesome. Oh, I'm in for that.
So he did a video on it last night. He released it just after the 60th had been shown. So if you look up Screwverse on YouTube, his latest video is showing his model of the 1996 TARDIS from the opening credits.
Awesome. What do you think of the credits, Jim?
Yeah, I thought they looked lovely. They looked like, and for once, I mean this as a compliment. Usually when I talk about this, I'm not complimentary, but they looked like they were meant to be in 3D. Like it looked like you were meant to see that on a big IMAX screen in 3D.
Yeah.
And as I say, for once, I mean that in a good way. They looked like filmic credits, you know, which I thought was great. Can we talk though a little bit about the pre-credits bit?
Yep. Yeah. I was going to. Yeah. Go
Oh
for it.
no, that's cool. I thought that was
Actually, can I just to end the credit
Yeah.
thing in one swoop? I did think the end credits though did sound like someone was having an asthma attack for a little while there.
I'm wondering with these credits, are we only going to have these credits for 3 episodes with David Tennant? And then we're going to have new.
I think they're going to keep them for shooting.
Right, I want you.
Yeah,
they normally
because-
tend to do different credits for every Doctor.
well,
It's
the
like
acquisition
it.
credits carried over to Tennant the first time, so yeah, I don't think you spend that sort of money and use it for 3 episodes, but
Yeah,
but
I
then
think
it's
we're gonna
Disney money, so maybe.
Yeah.
I think it just looks glorious. I don't want it to go that quickly, and having the diamond logo back was just glorious. But yeah, the end sounded a bit weird to me, but I don't.
I agree.
Yeah. Sorry, Jim. Yeah, the pre-credit. Very RTD straight off the bat. Like to have a soliloquy into the camera by both your leads is it's very like him, and having them overlaid and Tennant being just with the universe behind him. Jim.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting approach to take. I get it in that it's sort of recapping it for people who'd maybe forgotten what was going on with the Doctor and Donna. But I'm not always the biggest fan of having characters directly addressing the camera. And so I think the way they placed it, it worked as an almost sort of non-textual out of universe moment just to ease you back in, and then once we hit the credits you're back in the drama.
Yes.
So even if you find it off-putting, it doesn't intrude in the body of the episode.
I thought it was a nice way to do a recap instead of doing sort of like a previously on Doctor Who and showing a load of bits from them and all that. So I thought it was a nice change to just previously and all that. And like you say, it let people who, like, what is it, 15 years since Donna?
Yes,
is it
frightening.
Yeah. So there will be new viewers who who are new to Doctor Who since the Tennant era.
Yeah.
And
lots of them.
And it's letting them know what's happened. It's quite scary how many people, how the younger viewers, we think, oh, New Who and all that, and you think it's quite recent. And it isn't, it's bloody...
I think the 96 TV movie was yesterday. Forget like
Yeah, I mean, what would this be like? This would be like if after Peter Davison left, Tom Baker came back and said, "Oh, do you remember when I left Sarah Jane waiting for me?" And you're expected to just go, "Oh yes, of course." You know, so yeah.
Actually, you'd have to go back to John Pertwee.
True, you see, that's it.
Actually, a better metaphor would be after Colin Baker, just because, and not dissing Colin Baker and any of his adventures, but the esteemed Doctor who was seen in at the time and everything. I think having someone like Tom Baker come back is the equivalent of popularity at the time. Again, Colin Baker's disclaimer, Colin Baker's era has been well and truly kind of reclaimed by Big Finish and done a lot better with, and Colin did a wonderful job. Not to diss anyone. But yeah, I really, and also there is a bit of a precedent for this as well, because you had during Capaldi's time, he did a bit to the camera at the beginning of Listen.
Yeah.
So it has been sort of done before. But yeah, no, I think it's a nice way to get in. Like you say, it means you just go into the action clean, which again, where I was talking about Born Again, that little short before Tennant first stepped into the TARDIS, that very much kind of got the conversational bit out of the way, so that when you go into that first episode with him, it's just action, action, action. So again, it's very Russell T to find a way of having his cake and eating it too. Like the little mini adventure, you could just have it's in its separate little pocket sort of time, and then you go straight into this. And as soon as you're straight into the episode, you've got Artie sorry, RTD. We've got David Tennant just kinetically just running through the street, straight out of the gate, running straight into Donna right away. I am going to address the memory wipe thing that the Doctor's done with Donna. Let's just take that as one kind of piece of the kind of puzzle, if you like. It seems a little convenient how this works. Now, before, if this was ever revealed to her, she's going to have a mind wipe. This is going to be a really huge problem. There's no easy solution. Say, let it go. And also, so the Doctor can say everything else. He can mention the TARDIS. He can talk about traveling in time, the sonic screwdriver. None of this gives a. Couldn't you have just retaught her from scratch then?
Yeah, maybe.
Very,
Before it was, the implication was if she sees me, it will trigger all these memories instantly and it will destroy the universe. And whereas this, it was, no, I didn't say if she saw me. I said if she remembered. So as long as she can see me and do all sorts, as long as she doesn't remember, and she only remembers if I say the magic words.
Yeah, it has been retconned quite a bit.
Which, fair play.
I have no problem. It's been retconned. They've retconned it in a way that works for me, and I have no problem.
It works for me more than it doesn't work for me. I'll give you that.
Yeah, I'm happy to go with
Worth
it.
a mention, though.
Like, I'm not being funny, but we're watching a show about a guy who changes his face anytime he's killed, no problem, and he's all better. That goes around in a little box, and I think that we're allowed to look at this as a fantasy series more than a sci-fi show.
Elliot, when you say a show, you mean documentary, right? I mean, I've always understood this to be just the adventures of man in his box, you know?
But I think that the whole premise of the show, if that's what we're going to get caught up on, we've got a problem with the whole premise.
Oh God, no, I'm not going to get caught up on it. But and I'll always choose story over canon.
Yeah.
I think that's when I was a kid, I used to choose canon first because it used to just really drive me nuts. And I do get it, but at the same time, do you want a good story or do you want to get caught in the minutiae?
I think Doctor Who has well established itself already that it does not follow canon. It doesn't care. It has some canon, but a lot of things that happen in stories overwrite what happens in other stories. And don't mind, because they're more interested in the story than following them tiny little details.
Yeah.
Where if you have a show like Star Trek, Star Trek is very much following the canon. That you can't overwrite things.
Sometimes.
I think
I
was going to say, I mean, I think what I really more say is that if this was not following a long break from Doctor Who, because we've got to remember, we've had basically a year of waiting for Doctor Who. Like, we don't get the wilderness years anymore. We just get mini wilderness year or year and a halves here and there as they change showrunners or whatever, which is fine. If they rest the show to bring it back even bigger and better than ever, like they've done here, no problem with that. But I think because you've had a long break and you want to get straight into the action, this is the 60th anniversary. This is David Tennant's return. You want to get into it. So I don't mind they've been pretty hasty on the explanation of why this works now. If this was going straight off after another series, I would want them to spend a bit more time. Just like, and maybe a couple more lines on why it now works when it didn't before. And you could have explained it, but you don't want to waste the shoe leather in basically a movie, which is what we're watching here.
And I feel like this is sort of typical of the way that Russell T Davies writes Doctor Who. To me, he writes it to be all about these big emotional moments, and he will go for that and play to land that rather than worry about the intricacies of the plot. Like, you know, he's got precedent for doing things like this. Like we had where Rose got trapped in the alternate universe, and that was she can never, ever, ever come back under any circumstances. and you got the big emotional separation of them. And then a couple of series later, it's okay. We can bring Rose back, and we can wrap up the story again. And I feel like if Russell T Davies sees a way of doing something that can land this moment, he will go for that and maybe not worry too much about tying himself up in knots, even if it's a knot that he previously created. And, you know, that's down to him. It's whether it works for you or not. And for me, this worked. It was fine, and it's good to have them two back.
Oh yeah.
And if we can get there quickly, then fair enough. That was another thing. The feel of this episode did, to me, it didn't, and I'm sure we'll get there. So we've got 2 more episodes, but it didn't feel massive in the way like the Day of the Doctor felt for the 50th.
I'll give you that. Yeah.
This felt like business as usual, but in a good way. This felt like the Catherine Tate, David Tennant era, back to business as usual. But I could see this episode just being a middle of the series episode in any other run, rather than a big anniversary special. But I feel like we're going to get there.
I feel like there's more to come with this. This is just Act 1 of.
Oh yeah,
I think so.
The 3 stories are obviously going to be very interconnected.
Yes. They mentioned the boss, which I think Neil Patrick Harris is the toy maker.
I don't know if you also noticed, when he first comes out the TARDIS, there's a building in the distance, sort of behind where Donna is, and it's got 2 metal statues next to it. And at the end, you see the name of the building is Cyberdog.
Cyberdog, that's it, yeah.
So I'm thinking that's a bit of a little Easter egg in there that Cybermen are going to be involved somehow. And it's like totally not noticed it.
That is an actual shop in Camden Market.
Yeah,
I've been in it. So,
but I also think that what a waste if you don't use something like that.
Well, I think it's definitely put in shot. Like either way,
it's putting shot twice. It's putting shot at the beginning where you can't see the title of it, and then at the end you can see what the shop's called. So I was straight away, Cybermen are coming in.
Yeah, I mean, whether or not the Cybermen actually appear, I think it's definitely meant to tease our senses. It being there so prominently, that's not a mistake by RTD.
No.
But yeah, I mean, I thought I'm sort of like, I get what you mean, Jim. But for me, certainly, kind of like we've never had this is a particularly fast-paced episode of Doctor Who. It's particularly well, kind of as they shot as a movie. It's a bigger in scale than we've ever seen for what they're able to do with the budget they've now got. So there was definitely kind of a largeness to it. But yeah, I think plot-wise, this is step 1 of the building kind of like feeling we're going to get over the 3.
Tell you what it feels like, if I may draw a comparison again. If you remember when The Force Awakens came out, that, to me, the job of that film was to go, after the prequels, was to go, look, we can do Star Wars again the way you remember it, and we can have fun with it again. And to me, this episode felt like that was its job, to come in and go, look, we can have fun like we used to do with David Tennant and Catherine Tate. So now we've done that. Let's see what we do with this next episode. Now we've got you back on board and we've got that good feeling going again. Now I'm going to do horrible, horrible things, which I can see Russell T Davies doing.
And I don't know if you heard that of approval from Willow there, but yeah, Willoo is definitely in for that. I also love this, just the first scene. So you got like, first of all, David Tennant grabs the parcels to help Donna out, and then just puts them straight back on.
That was good.
Yeah, and it's just the energy, like as we're saying, it's like the pace of this. It's like, he puts the present back, then she calls Rose, and he's like, "What?" And it's like her daughter, and then he's kind of like, and then it's her husband. It's like, "What?" And it's just like, again, this is RTD at its best. This is what I love RTD for being able to do. It's just quick pace. It's kind of like loads of callbacks to moments. The fact that this episode at all is based on an old comic strip of Doctor Who, that is just wonderful fan service.
40-year-old, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, it's just so glorious. What were you going to say, Elliot?
No, I was just saying how it's like the Doctor realizes something's going on. He doesn't know what's going on. That's teased all the way through, that he's being drawn back to Donna and all around it, that something is manipulating him. He doesn't know why he's got the same face. So I think that's why this episode isn't quite the 60th, but it's building up to everything. Mm-hmm. That when you watch it all as a 3 hour think it's going to be absolutely awesome to watch this in for the whole 3 hours.
Yeah, because we still haven't got the answer of why he's chosen this face again. So I think that's going to come up, or maybe I think the toy maker's going to be involved.
I think that's who the boss is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the boss is definitely here. Well, I mean, I'd be very surprised if it isn't. You know, maybe.
Well, that's what I'm imagining, because we've been told it's toy maker. Like, that could be a massive red herring.
Yeah,
until I tell the boss, because that'd be very RTD as well, to just throw something in that.
Yeah,
with Disney money, it could be Bruce Springsteen.
or Bruce Willis's secret other thing he filmed before he was unable to act.
No, Bruce Springsteen, not Bruce Willis. The
No,
boss.
I was joking that maybe Bruce Willis. Yeah.
I mean, I'd be up for it if it were Bruce Willis, but
Springsteen and Willis, and before he lost, sadly, and this is not taking the mickey or anything, but before Bruce lost the ability of speech, Bruce Willis, maybe they belted out Under the Boardwalk together.
Oh, there you go. There we are. I mean, I think maybe we need to get on the fan fiction forums with that one.
Anyway, we've massively digressed. And all the stuff with the family was really great. I think the way they handled, we'll get into the, obviously we won't do the end just yet, but the way they handled the trans issue with Donna's daughter was really great. I think having kind of experiences that they have to deal with every day, not they as in the individual, but they as in trans people, that they have to face every day was very nicely handled. It was very lightly handled. I think there was a bit of a sledgehammer moment near the end, but we'll get there. But yeah, I thought it was just great.
I thought that was good. And what surprised me a little bit about it, and I think this is why you need writers of the caliber of Russell T Davies to do it, is that they presented a trans character played by a trans actress, and actually acknowledged that people have difficulty with it, like the grandma, who is a completely sympathetic character.
Yes,
they had the courage to show she can struggle with it sometimes, and that doesn't make her a bad person. She's learning and she's trying to get better at it. And I thought that was a very brave thing to acknowledge and to put out there, which you don't see a lot of. So yeah, I thought that was all very well done.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think we have to accept that our friends saying the wrong thing occasionally when they're trying to do the right thing is much more acceptable to us than someone who's purposely just saying the wrong thing just to be nasty.
Yeah.
That's a very different premise. And yeah, very well done by RTD. I agree. Any thoughts on that quickly, Elliot, before we move on?
No, I think you've covered it quite well there. I agree with what you said on it. It's
just really well done.
I think he's done it well. I actually watched the making of afterwards, and I can't remember the name of the actor who plays Rose, but they were saying when they saw it come up, they thought, yes, this role's for me.
Yeah.
They were so pleased that they were asking for a trans actress.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's lots of people who are a fan of Heartstoppers, which she did prior to this, which is on Netflix now. I watched the first episode, really enjoyed it for what it was, but it was a bit teeny drama for me. That was the only reason why I didn't watch it, but very well acted, and she was great in it. Very brief in the first episode. I think she comes into it a bit more later. Anyway, I digress very much. And we're straight into the action. I think Donna works just as well not remembering who the Doctor is. And in fact, you can have loads of jokes all on you again about like he's a skinny, weird thing.
Thin man.
and Donna ducking every time like there's a massive spaceship landing and she just ducks down to play about with the presents, which is a great on-running joke from when she was first in it.
I liked the idea that because Donna can't remember this thing, there's almost a defense mechanism inbuilt that somehow she manages to miss everything that's going on around her, anything that might trigger it.
Yeah.
She's conveniently absent, like almost like in the X-Files where you had Scully was always in the opposite room when the aliens came in or whatever. She never actually saw the weird thing. And it's almost like that with Donna. Like I like this idea that on some level something's looking out for her and stopping her from from seeing things that might trigger it.
Oh, and it just broke my heart. I'm so glad we're going to see Wilf coming up. I was kind of hoping to see him straight off the bat. I just want all the Bernard Cribbins I can get, given that sadly the man himself has left us. Just very quickly, one of my favourite letters I have from based on Gallifrey Stands was I wrote off to Bernard Cribbins once a handwritten letter because he's a man of was a man of old-fashioned kind of like ways of communication. Writing this letter, found his address. And I got a lovely letter written on the same letter. He just written it at the bottom. He goes, "Dear Squee," and he called me Squee, which was just great. Just like anyone of his generation able to sort of like enjoy the silliness of a nickname, was just nice. And he goes, "I regret, unfortunately, like this just arrived to me 1 month late. I'm sorry. I don't know how to use any of these kind of like Skype or anything else. I would have done it on the phone, of course, but I think it was this way of nicely letting me down. All the best with everything. Love, Bernard Cribbins." And it was just, I've still got that. It was just the nicest rejection I've ever been given.
Yeah.
Anything ever, I think, quite frankly, let alone for this show. But that's a very prized possession from me. But yeah. It was just so bittersweet, and I'm glad we're going to get to rectify it in a later episode where you talk about Bernard Cribbins having died, or no, not having died, but like the Doctor thinks for a second he's dead. Not being able to talk about the stars, not being able to talk about the Doctor, which gave him so much love and so much hope. And Donna sees how much it crushed him, even though she can't remember the Doctor. And like little things like she's going, it's like, I just felt like he would have done it before she even knows who he is, like being the Doctor. I thought all that stuff, like even referencing Wilf, even without him being on the screen, is what I'm saying is Bernard Cribbins kind of ruled the day for a scene or two.
So are we getting Bernard Cribbins then? So I couldn't remember whether he filmed something.
We've seen photos. We've seen him in a wheelchair being pushed along.
I had a feeling maybe we had. I just couldn't remember.
When they showed the making of this, they had him round table when they were doing the script readings.
Right.
So he's definitely in it.
And it's going to be his last ever appearance on TV. It seems so fitting.
Yeah.
I think this role.
Yeah.
I think Bernard Cribbins had been so many things to so many people over the years. He'd been a presenter, comedian, an actor in some wonderful early comedy films. And he became kind of everyone's dad, reading the story in Jack and Ori, to everyone's granddad when he was, what was the old Jack's Boat? The kids show. And then obviously in Doctor Who as Wilfred Mott. So it is, as I say, it was just so many things, so many people. I think this role gave him a new lease of life, and he's even talked about it in an interview before he passed. And so for this to be his last role seems very fitting to me as well. But yeah, we'll get to Bernard Cribbins when he does arrive on screen. Ruth Madeley, we've kind of talked about before, so I'll kind of like skip a little bit past that, but just a wonderful turn. I think she's going to be a very exciting character. It's nice for them to build up the unit family always. I think having another unit character to come back to, which I don't think she's just a one and done. I think she's
I think she's going to be recurring.
Just on the subject of the wheelchair that shoots things.
Yeah.
But it's still a manually powered wheelchair. Like you could have made it, do you know what I mean? Like me.
Well, I love that quirk of it.
It is, yeah, but it's like, we'll fit you these guns and stuff. Like, can you make it motorized? Oh no, you've still got to do it with your hands, but you can shoot rockets.
That's possibly a choice that she wants to do it with her hands.
Possibly so, yeah.
I like the idea that that's a choice. Like, she's given all this kind of power technology, but she's like, no, I want to kind of keep my strength up. She's a fighter still,
If that's what it is, that's fine. I just found it a little bit of a strange juxtaposition.
There was a nice little.
Very Doctor Who.
There was a nice little cameo that you probably didn't realise who it was, because I follow him on YouTube. Matt Green. He was the BBC reporter.
Oh, right.
It's really worth following on YouTube. He only does 2-3 minutes.
And you'll recognise that guy.
But he does it's all political satire. So whatever's the breaking news, he's basically taking the piss out of the Tories straight away with the cover-ups. But Matt Green is well worth watching on YouTube and following. I follow him.
No, nice shout. And I love these little kind of turns they put in there. So then we get into the meat. Let's talk about the meat. The perfect RTD, perfect Doctor Who monster. I mean, obviously this one's taken straight from that comic strip.
Yeah.
But to have like Marianne Margulies, because I know if the whole role was a cutesy little alien which goes me, like Marianne Margulies, I mean she's done some kid stuff, but I think in an adult show she wouldn't choose to do that. I know she would have loved the idea of just being this cutesy thing which just goes absolutely psycho.
Yeah.
And to begin with,
it's a nice bit and switch into it that they pull on this.
It's just so good.
Because like the Wolf Warriors, they look proper like an evil alien, the insectoid and everything. So it's a brilliant bait and switch, and both are taken directly from the comic.
Yeah, they're exactly the same, but just brought to life so well. Like I think I'm sort of glad they made the decision to keep the Wrath Warriors looking the same, even though probably if you were going to design them anew for TV, you'd make them a little bit more intimidating, a little less.
When they were designing them, it's from watching the making of.
Yeah, I haven't watched it.
They kept showing like the design sketches to RTD, and he kept going, "No, make it more Worf, because he wanted what was in the comics."
Yeah, I'm glad they made that decision, because even though, again, you could have made it more menacing, but to see the thing which was originally in the comics,
exactly,
and you're celebrating the history of Doctor Who's 60th anniversary.
That's the thing. They border on looking naff, but that's part of it.
But that's part of the history of Doctor Who is naff looking.
Absolutely.
Aliens. Like I was watching
some
of the first Doctor's stories, and they have one, and it's like this fly. I can't remember which episode it is, but it's like first season. And you can clearly see the bloke's legs are just sort of like covered in bin bags to make it look somewhat different.
Yeah, it was. I mean, again, I think that given that we had the 50th anniversary, I know it's 10 years ago now, but given that that was such a centric on the lore of the Doctor, I think to do that again, even 10 years afterwards, is still fairly soon.
Yeah.
And even though I'm sort of a small part of me still hoping somewhere they'll do a way of doing the Day of the Doctor scene where you see all 13 cell when you see all the Doctors. I'd love if they have a moment like that, which I think RTD will give us. And even if you manage to get some audio cameos from some original Doctors somewhere, that'd be nice. But I think he's done a sensible thing to go, right, how do we do this differently? Right, comic strip, that's never been done on screen. Let's do that. The Celestial Toy Maker. Interesting to note that there hasn't been one Hartnell original bad guy other than the big two, the Cybermen and Daleks, which Cybermen, they haven't had any of the other Hartnell originals make it to the screen. So to have the Toy Maker, I think he's thought about how he could do it differently, how he could do something which wasn't done before. And I really applaud that kind of thing. So then we get on to what was that? Yeah. So I mean, Donna, when she meets the Meep as well, it's like, and obviously her go-to is anytime she sees anything alien, it's like it's Martians. And
I just like how our mum's keeps going, no, it's not there, it's not real, it's not real, it's not there, you can't see it.
Oh, she's
under the constant.
Yeah, we have to give a shout out to Sylvia Noble. I'm going to forget the actor's name, even though I've spoken to her before for this show. So it's gone, but she does a wonderful turn as well.
Yeah,
Jacqueline something. Yeah. Anyway, she's absolutely wonderful. Yeah, and as you say, just like no, you can't see the skinny man. And to have the idea that Rose has been making these models which it blends in with perfectly, which then gets called back later. There's so many really lovely layers.
That's very much I feel like it's an homage to that scene in E.T. where you've got E.T. hiding in with the cuddly toys.
Yeah.
Oh, I could see that. I didn't even think of that. Yeah, good shout. Yeah, and yeah, then when we get the kind of showdown between the monsters, we get the turn with the Meep, and again, just to see Marianne Margulies just be able to go full bear, and it just does look mean. Like they did a pretty good stab at making something so cutesy look so evil. Like with some of the previous RTD times when he's done something similar, like with the adipose, it looked really cute. I think it struggled to look mean near the end.
Yeah.
the adipose. Whereas this one kind of works very nicely, and
Yeah.
obviously they have the comics to go back to where they give them huge sharp fangs.
And I liked that it called back to the Shadow Proclamation, because we had in
And the
Christopher
judge's wig.
Eccleston's first episode, when he confronts the Nestine Conscious, he cites the Shadow Proclamation. So that's kind of Russell T Davies going back to his first Doctor Who episode as well.
Yeah, yeah. The way they just chuck these little callbacks here and there and everywhere is just very well done. And that wasn't done with the 50th, so again, it's differentiating itself as well. Yeah, and that just lovely scene where he does just pull out a judge's wig and he does a little trial for them.
Well, that's always been the thing. Like, does he have like TARDIS pockets? Because all the different things he can always pull out of his pockets, always has what he needs there.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of pocket acting. I mean, it was something which Tennant first said when he was picking out his suit for the 10th Doctor. He goes, it's like, yeah, I want to have lots of pockets so the Doctor can pull things out, because you know, pocket acting is so vital to the Doctor. And I think the amount of times you do see the love from David Tennant as a fan himself, someone who grew up with the show, it just really, you see it on the screen in every moment how much fun he has being the Doctor as a lifelong fan, I think. I'm just trying to think what else we've got to kind of cover on this one.
There's a new sonic screwdriver power that it can make big barriers now.
Well, he had a new sonic screwdriver, because in the comics it gets destroyed by the Daleks? Because there's been a couple of comic book stories in between as well.
So is this power gonna be a recurring power, or was that a one-off? Just because I know there's all these like Reddit threads where they keep track of what the sonic screwdriver can and can't do. And this one feels like maybe you could write yourself into a corner a little bit with this, because that's a very useful thing to have.
I'd agree.
Force fields.
But we shall see. We shall see.
I'd agree. I would have this be a one and done. Like, we gave them this for the 60th. Like, we'll just pretend we never saw it for a future event, where it would be very convenient.
Very useful for him to have a force field.
There was,
I mean, it was RTD himself said when he brought back the Sonic, he goes, "Look, we want the Doctor to have obstacles. We don't want it to be a door." Like, and giving it a few extra bits which it can do is fine. And he spoke about limiting its power, so I think he's sort of slightly broken his own rule in this one. Yeah,
I did enjoy, though, there was something very sort of quintessentially British about them going up to a loft and working the way down a row of terrace houses by taking the bricks out of I don't know, I'm not American, but I imagine that's the sort of thing American viewers will look at and think, whoa, they have weird housing in the UK.
I mean, I think that's only in certain parts of the UK as well. Like, I've never been in a house which has got a loft like that. But I know they exist, but yeah.
No, they do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I find it really weird, because I'm in top floor flat that I haven't got a loft.
I've got like the house I grew up with had a loft, but not one of the interconnecting ones where you could just.
Well, row of terraces. It will do, yeah.
But I mean, all fairness, I grew up above a chemist shop, like my dad's shop, so it was in the centre of town. You didn't like a very old building, so it wouldn't have had that kind of architecture. And then I've rented since, so there isn't often a lot of loft spaces.
And it was fun visually as well to look in through the windows and see them trotting across each house as they went. Like, it was just a fun sequence.
We got to get on to the new TARDIS.
Yes.
Sorry, that's right at the end. We'll get to that in a minute. Sorry, we'll get into the showdown at the end. It was kind of quite a quick resolution to the meat thing, which then, because I think they want to make the meta crisis resolution be the main thing. I love the idea that when he removed the block from Donna, he also removed it from Rose, and she had inherited the powers. That was all great.
Well, I also like this that the meta crisis didn't kill Donna, because she'd split it with Rose.
Yeah, that was a good.
So it sort of like that sort of got around the part that if she remembers she is going to die, you got around it by going, no, it's because she split it. She split the amount of power.
I'll go into that, because I love the bit of dialogue, because it was the dialogue. I haven't gone back and checked, but I'm pretty sure that was the dialogue which she said when she became the Metacryst Doctor, like Mexico binary. That was her little mental breakdown. So having that and then non-binary, I thought was very clever wordplay, always good in a bit Doctor Who. Worked totally with the character, that she wasn't along traditional, like she along her life has gone through genders. I'm trying to say it the correct way, so sorry if I misspeak to anyone out there. But yeah, and yeah, male and female for the Dr. Donna, it all worked very nicely. It was when they really, for me, hammered it home in the dialogue, and they didn't really sort of justify why letting it go was easier, because there was two of them.
Yeah,
There was no,
I think they were sort of like,
I'm-
because they're a female, they could give up the power. Where
well, I was going to say,
a
yeah,
man wouldn't.
but then Donna could have done that. They needed
That-
just
that
redigging
felt
that
like
line slightly.
an unnecessary dig at the male gender for no reason.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I didn't.
a male presenting Doctor, a Time Lord, wouldn't understand that you can just let it go. Like, I didn't get quite what they were trying to land with that.
Yeah, and it's like, why couldn't have Donna done that in the first place if it's
But just
women?
on the subject of the, I agree with you that the binary non-binary is a clever bit of wordplay. I will, like we said with the thing about Davros, like, I will take my lead from what the trans and non-binary community feels about this, but I felt like maybe this was perhaps doing a bit of a disservice, because the implication here is that Rose is non-binary or trans because of the meta crisis, and it's like, no, those.
Oh, I
the-
didn't get that.
I thought that was the
That's
implication,
interesting.
because it was like, well, because you've got the Time Lord thing inside your head, that's why you've transitioned. Because that was the way it came across to me. If it didn't for you, then that I'm happier.
it's
'cause that's
interesting.
completely my bad, and
I
that
think it's
just
fair to
that just
take.
made me a little bit uncomfortable. So I was like, no, trans people just exist. They don't need to exist because of some alien influence. A little bit like with, I remember Simon Pegg did an interview regarding the Kelvin timeline Trek films, and he said about Sulu being presented as gay, and he said, well, in this universe, whatever it is that makes you gay, Sulu's got that. And the implication there was, well, hang on, if somebody's gone back in time and changed the timeline, that means Sulu being gay in this timeline is a direct result of something that happened. And it's like, no, people are gay or trans or straight or whatever because they are. It's not because of
I'll address two
it
things
made
there.
me feel a little bit uncomfortable, but I'm perfectly willing to say I have probably got this wrong.
No. I think that's there as an interpretation. That's not an unfair interpretation from the text. But first of all, just quickly with Sulu, I just assumed it was because they didn't really have a lot of love interest for Sulu. They didn't have him really expressing any kind of sexuality in the original series. So then having him being gay felt really kind of quite organic. Like, he could have been gay all that time, and just his sexuality didn't really come up in the show that much. But anyway, we'll get back onto Doctor Who. And I mean, the way I interpreted it, but again, I don't think that's an unfair interpretation of the text. To me, I thought it was more a case of, because she is non-binary, she could, like, she had that agility of that different way of thinking that allowed her to see something the other two didn't. Like, it was an extra part of the puzzle. You had the two binary members of the Dr. Donna, and then a new member of the Dr. Donna who's non-binary, who could think outside of that particular box, and maybe that just opened up her mind somehow. That's the way I take it. But yeah, I can see what you mean. I just thought it was like, yeah, the bit about, it seemed almost like they were tripping over their words almost to express it correctly as well, to have a dig at men, kind of. I mean, I don't have a problem. Like, I get it. Men are often in shows seen in the ascendancy, so having a little bit of man digging, I don't really mind. But this one seemed very ham-fisted. It was like, someone who identifies as male. It's like, what? Okay, I mean, okay. I mean, it was a lovely moment about trans, I thought, and about trans rights, and just having someone being there as an equal, and it not being treated as weird. It was just so nicely done. To add that in just seemed a bit pointless.
Yeah,
and, like,
it
again,
seemed a bit.
I would like them to have brought into the dialogue, as kind of Elliot suggested, the fact that, well, because the power's split in half, that means we can just let it go.
Yeah.
But they didn't really say that. It was just like, oh,
No.
we just decided we can let it go. So, well, you could have done that at any time. That's
The
really...
idea of her passing on a bit of the power and that's why it didn't kill her was brilliant. And that did make sense in universe and everything. But yeah, the letting it go bit, I felt like what they were trying to go for was like in the Dr. Dances episode where you get Christopher Eccleston saying, for once everybody gets to live, and it's this triumphant, happy moment. And I feel like they were going for something like that, but I don't know, it just...
I mean, this is where I think RTD naturally has a bit of a Disney sentiment to him sometimes. Like, not in all of his writing, not in all the time, but he has these Disney moments which he likes, which is quite on brand for what, the new collaboration. But it just didn't feel like it fit.
Yeah,
like you could have just gone, right, we're split in half, so now we can just let it go and just have that be it.
It's got to land the emotional beat. You can get away with something that doesn't make sense within the context of the story if you feel it, and I didn't feel that, if that makes sense, and I get that that's completely subjective, but yeah, like you said, that moment didn't quite land. I don't see why they couldn't have just said, right, well, we've got the meta crisis thing within us now. This is going to be fun. I mean, I presume it's because if they ever want to bring the Donna or Rose back again, they don't want them to have Time Lord powers.
Yeah.
So I get why you've got to take it away from them, but yeah, I mean, you could have done it just, oh, well, now that it's reactivated because it's split, it dissipated or something. There were all sorts of ways you could have done it.
I'm going to have to move us on just because this got to fit an hour on radio, so I might have to make some edits already. But just very quickly, to talk about the new console, I thought, I mean, it was kind of weird because you could see it in the background while they were talking. It's like, right, I'm not going to listen to anything you're saying right now because I'm looking in the TARDIS doors to see the new bug. And it kind of got spoiled because I wasn't sure how true it was going to be because there was a picture which BBC actually released, I think was the story. And then some people had done their interpretation of it, or some people had seen it and they'd done their interpretation. So I wasn't sure how much it was going to look like the thing that people had put up, but it was actually pretty much spot on to what people had shared. So whoever recreated it, well done. You pretty much got spot on. I think you might have got the lighting a bit off, but that's about it. I like it. I like the fact that it's spacious. It doesn't really... I don't know why it leads so many places. Like there's nothing down in the places where it leads to, which is a bit weird. And it is a bit sterile, which some people have said. Well, I was going to say, I would like them to build it up like they did Capaldi's TARDIS and add some bookshelves. They've added bookshelves in that case.
Yeah.
Add a few bits to the areas which you've got, because make use of those areas. Make them an exciting little space. Make a little armchair area. Why not? I like the fact you got a coffee machine that was quite fun.
I thought it was very much...
Just quickly, Elliot, and then I'll hand over to you. And I like the fact that the round things on the walls light up did add a bit, because it was very sterile and white, and it looked a bit more Star Trek to begin with. But when you add the lighting and stuff, it becomes a bit more Doctor Who. Sorry, Elliot, over to you.
So I thought with the white that it was very much a callback to original series Doctor Who with the white walls and
it was just missing the cream offsetting it.
A central console. And he had very little else inside the control room. He had his coat up and a couple of chairs, and that was pretty much it.
Well, if you look at the original, there's actually more to it, because there's a pillar, there was an area where you had some scanners and stuff. But yeah, I do get what you mean. I just thought it was pure white without any cream or any other colors to break it up. The console was delicious, though. I loved all the buttons and little coffee machine. That was just
and
fun.
having Tennant just run around like a giddy kid, which I imagine was probably genuine. I don't think there will be much acting involved in that, but that was really good. But yeah, like you say, it's huge. And let's see
what got me is that he got there's. Normally, when we've seen the console room change, the TARDIS has blown up in some way, and it's when it's rebuilt itself that it changes. And here it's like it's just parked, and the TARDIS has gone ahead and altered its control room. But then at the end, we have it blowing up
Yeah.
and go crash land somewhere. And I assume that they're going to come back to this because, like Anna did the special effects, they had to be very careful not to damage any of it. So they're going to be using this TARDIS console room again. This is the one for going forward. So it made more sense for him to be in Geordie's TARDIS. Then have the copy spill on the console. Because at the end, you see, when the crash land, wherever they've gone, when he shuts the door, you can still see that it's on fire behind them. Which is the time that the TARDIS had normally rebuilt its console room.
Oh, I get you. I just think there's as with everything else in this episode, I think it's all about keeping the pace and not dropping that for a moment. It's very RTD to.
But I thought that we could have had him in Geordie's console room.
Oh, I get you. Yeah,
and with Donna, and Donna spill a coffee on that, and it blow up, and then we get in episode 2, we get the reveal of the new.
I think they just want to go straight in with the new set, the shock and awe. But yeah, I am going to have to run things up, guys. I do just very quickly. The only other thing I'm going to say is I hope we still get an explanation for why his clothes magically regenerated as well. I know RTD's
weird.
Again, the wording for RTD was that he didn't want to have a man in women's clothing because he felt the press would make jokes about it, which were crass. And given, I think now, especially seeing the episode and all the positive trans messaging, I kind of get it. At the same time, screw them. I'm sorry, if they're going to do that, we're not going to take it like that. We would just see it as the Doctor regenerated. He's in the clothes, he gets changed, he picks his outfit out. I kind of miss that. But again, I also get why you want to keep the pace up. I'm going to leave there, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Where can we check you guys out on maybe another kind of show that happens weekly?
Yeah, we do the ReTrek podcast usually every Wednesday around 7 o'clock. You can find us all over social media. Search for we're at ReTrek Pod on Twitter, X, and search for us on all the socials.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for joining us, joining me, guys. It's lovely, as well as Doctor Who celebrating his 60th anniversary, to bring in all my pals to talk about it. And this, for me, genuinely is what Doctor Who is all about. It's talking about it the next day with your mates in the playground, in the office, or just over Skype nowadays, or the wonderful people at StreamYard, of course. I've been Doctor Squee. That was my show. And for this week, Gallifrey Stands once more. And Willow says goodbye too. Willoo-ee-oow. Oh, sorry, I haven't got the credits ready. That was so slick for a second. Just talk amongst yourselves. And for this week, Gallifrey Stands. And I'm Dr. Squee. That was my show. Goodbye.